With Zibai just released and Varka almost out as well, even though they look like really cool picks, are they truly wise pulls to make for the future of your account? And taking it a step further, do you even really need any Anemo or Geo carry to handle anything Genshin throws at you? Or are they really just fancy gimmicks designed to make us spend more? In this guide, we'll go over what makes these carries' value so low, when they can actually be good, and which ones are the best to pick depending on your account if you still want to get one. Hello, welcome to Genshin Filter, your quick guide for everything Genshin. So let's get started! Zibai and NEUVILLETTE are here. And before you empty your wallets in the shop, let me share with you a site that will save you a lot of money. Top Up Live. This site lets you top up all the most popular games at much cheaper prices. By using my link, you can get up to 30% off compared to in-game prices. It's super simple. Just enter your UID and server and you're done. It's 100% safe using PCI security and delivers in just a few minutes. And for an even better deal, use my code FILTER for an additional 12% off. So hit my link in the description or pinned comment to get these great deals. And thank you Top Up Live for sponsoring this video. Firstly, I want to say that just because you don't need these characters doesn't mean you shouldn't get them. I'm always of the opinion that you should get the characters you love and enjoy their playstyle. But if you are looking for efficiency when spending your Primogems, that is where these characters lose their value. When we go down to the basics, Genshin Impact is a game that mostly revolves around its elements, from reactions to elemental application, where the most important aspect is being able to defeat the monsters you encounter across its world and its endgame domains. Each of these monsters has its own strengths and weaknesses, and as we said, they mostly come in the form of elemental requirements. A monster will be strong against one element, but weak against another. Whether that is through elemental application or even a reaction, your job is to build an account that can fulfill those requirements and be ready for most of the challenges the game throws at you through its monsters. These challenges, strengths and weaknesses can come in the shape of an elemental shield, elemental resistance, or even a boss mechanic, all of which require specific elemental application or reaction triggers to deal with. Because of that, you need to fit your characters to be able to handle these situations. The most common elements that enemies' requirements are weak to are Pyro, Hydro, Electro, Cryo, and Dendro, while enemies with Anemo and Geo requirements are very rare. With that in mind, an optimal account would focus on having a roster of teams that can deal with the more common elemental type requirements, given that you will face them more often in the game. You don't have to have a DPS for each element type, as you can fully fulfill enemy requirements using only supports. But I'm of the opinion that striving to have at least one main DPS of each of these common elements eventually is a great way to prepare your account for any scenario. For example, if you already have a good Pyro DPS, it would be a good idea to invest first in other common elemental DPSs before trying to get another one. Anemo and Geo do have their advantages, as they give a level of versatility when it comes to shield breaking, since they are effective against every elemental shield. But even though they can break any shield, it is much less effective than using the specific elemental requirement. In practice, you are still better off having a DPS of each type to counter it. So when are they good? I find that this happens when they can offer more than just their Anemo or Geo damage. The main two ways they can do that are through versatility or mechanics, so let's break it down. When it comes to mechanics, Genshin has grown a lot over the years, and now it has even more layers than just what I explained earlier. Now, instead of just requiring elements or reactions, it has also added new mechanics to the game, like the Usia and Numa alignment in Fontaine, the Night's Soul Blessings in Natlan, and Lunar Damage in Nodcry. These mechanics were added to give another layer to the combat requirements and push players to get new characters so they can beat the new enemies in the game. A very financially clever move on Hoyo's part. Create a problem and then sell you the solution. In Fontaine, it looked like they were just testing the waters, because even if you ignored the requirements of the new mechanics, you would probably still be able to brute force the enemies. So having Navia's Usia alignment wasn't that helpful. In Natlan, you can feel it more, and carries like Chasca can be a great pick against those mechanics. But when we got to Nodcry, it went to a whole new level, and now I would actually recommend that getting yourself at least one strong Luna DPS is something any account should strive to have, and Zibai can actually provide that. That said, if you want a carry that can fulfill these mechanic requirements, going for one of the common elements instead, like Flints or Nefer, would be a more optimal choice. Where things start to become more relevant is when the carry also provides versatility. Depending on how their kit is designed, Anemo and Geo carries can be split into 3 types of teams. The first type is when the carry's kit is built for pure mono Anemo or Geo, where the entire team focuses on buffing the main DPS into a hyper carry to deal as much of their elemental damage as possible. This is less about elements or reactions and more about raw damage. For Anemo, you can see this with Xiao teams and also Wanderer. Yes, Wanderer does receive some buffs from having swirlable elemental characters on the team, but it doesn't make a huge difference, and you'll often see similar results even when running triple Anemo. For Geo, this is clearly seen in teams like Itto and Zibai. This type of carry is the least optimal, as they are honestly only good against enemies that are weak to Geo, which we already established the game doesn't have many of, and they don't contribute much versatility. The second type is where the carry's kit and team are built around dealing split elemental damage, meaning both elements contribute a meaningful portion of the damage. Given that Geo requirements are rare, you'll usually end up with a somewhat mono team for the other element. For example, in Anemo, DPS Venti works like this, as well as the upcoming Varka. For Geo, characters like Navia have their kit designed around other elements in the team that actually benefit from her damage. The new character Zibai can fit here as well, because even though most of her damage and team design push her toward hypercarry teams, she also has incentives in her kit for hydro characters. You can build her team with strong sub-DPS units, and it will still perform extremely well, thanks to how absurdly strong she is. This is where versatility starts to matter. You can now build a mono team for almost every element using just one carry, which is really valuable, especially for newer players who can't afford multiple carries yet. However, these teams usually lack strong reactions, and they often deal less damage compared to mono teams, where the carry matches the team's element. The last and most versatile type is when the carry's kit actually revolves around dealing other elemental damage more than their own. Unfortunately, we still don't have a Geo carry whose kit truly supports that playstyle. But for Anemo, the best character that fits this role is Chasca. Her kit revolves around having as many elements on the team as possible, and dealing high damage with those elements, alongside strong reactions. In her case, Anemo is not there for its own damage, but purely for its swirl properties. Other characters that work similarly are Mizuki and Ifa, who focus heavily on swirl damage with multiple elements. This kit design allows these carries to access almost any reaction you would need for most scenarios, all through one character, and that level of versatility is very rare. That brings us to the final requirement, damage. Without it, everything else becomes meaningless. Unfortunately, in Mizuki's and Ifa's case, the damage isn't that impressive, although Ifa performs better thanks to his use of Night Soul points. Chasca, on the other hand, also has very strong damage on top of her versatility, that also have the Night Soul mechanic on top of that, making her the most optimal carry to invest in if you want an Anemo DPS that works almost anywhere, and under nearly any requirement, which is extremely valuable for new players. For Geo, there really isn't an optimal choice that fully justifies investing in one. When it comes to Zibai, however, if you have the option to build her team around strong hydro damage, combined with the lunar damage mechanics she provides, and the fact that she is one of the strongest DPS characters in the game, she can still be a good pick, but mainly if you don't already have other lunar DPS options, and don't plan to get them. As we saw, going for Anemo or Geo character is generally not optimal, but they can still become great picks for very specific accounts. If you are in the early game, you are free to play, and you don't have much time on your hand to explore the game and collect all the free Primogems, getting a versatile character like Chasca, who can fit into almost any requirements an enemy can demand from you, is a perfect fit, on top of also providing the Night Soul Blessing mechanic when you need it. The other type of an account who should maybe get these characters is the complete opposite, where you already been playing for a while, have all scenarios covered, and you want a solid DPS that will handle the Anemo or Geo requirements in the best way. In that case, Zibai is also an amazing choice, thanks to her insane damage and additional lunar damage mechanic. Also, carries like Varka and Navia, who leans more towards mono teams, can still be a nice pick if you really like their playstyle, serving for a strong secondary option for different scenarios, when you find your common elemental carry is already occupied. But at the end of the day, you simply won't find yourself in enough scenarios to justify spending on these carries, when you could have at the same price go for a more common elemental character instead. Characters like Sucrose or Noel can already be very powerful units that get the job done, without any unnecessary spending. And if you can afford it, getting characters like Kazuha or Zhongli to deal with those requirements would be a much smarter investment in my opinion. All that said, if your favorite character is an Anemo or a Geo carry, I do think you should get them no matter what, because you getting and enjoying your favorite characters is much more important than optimizing your account. And that's a wrap. If this video helped you in any way, consider giving it a like and subscribe for more fielder guides. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Cheers!